Right now at 4:30, just in the nick of time. Winter weather bears down on southern Montana to close out 2024. Plus, a fond farewell.
I think people started to realize that the character of the man was something that maybe we haven't seen since.
As many remember President Carter, we examine Carter's connections to Yellowstone National Park and a Montana-made toast.
Single malt whiskey is 100% malted barley, and well, what do we grow here in central Montana? We grow fantastic malt barley.
As a Montana rancher toasts the year that was, we show you how his homegrown whiskey can be the start of something special under the big sky. And good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on this snowy Monday. I'm Keagan Harsha. Well, as we count down the days to 2025, Old Man Winter finally makes an appearance in south central Montana. This was the scene up at Red Lodge Mountain today, where the powder was piling up. The ski area only received an inch of snow overnight, but it snowed all day up there, which was music to the ears of skiers. A lot of people deciding to take advantage of their holiday vacations and all that snow to hit the slopes. Road conditions, though, in and around Billings today, actually not too bad. Most of the snow's been melting into the pavement. Once you leave Yellowstone County, though, it is slow going. This is the Bozeman Pass headed into Livingston, where you can see the roads are snow-packed and the visibility is limited. And this is I-90 just east of Billings, where it was a similar scene for much of today. I-90 closed in both directions last night at Homestake Pass near Butte as the storm moved in, turning the highway there into an ice rink. For more on this storm and what you can expect, here's Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Current temperatures mainly in the 20s, 31 for you down in Graybull, and that's actually dropped here in the last little while. Livingston, you're at 30, but the blue shaded areas show where we still have travel concerns this evening. We're expecting these winter weather advisories to expire into tonight, but it's only temporary. We have a good chance of seeing some more snow, and travel conditions could be very slick, so make sure that you leave yourself some extra time and a little extra distance between you and the next guy as well. In the short term, we're going to expect another round of snow showers overnight with light accumulations. We'll show you the areas most likely to pick up a little between tonight and tomorrow morning. The chilly temperatures will build into the eastern plains, and another weather system could arrive for the weekend.
The nation continues to mourn the loss of President Jimmy Carter, as tonight we're learning more about plans to honor and remember our country's 39th Commander-in-Chief. President Carter's state funeral will be held January 9th inside the Washington Cathedral, with the eulogy to be delivered by President Biden. This following more than a week's worth of ceremonies and tributes to Carter. The former president will be first brought to Atlanta by motorcade and will lie in repose on Saturday and Sunday at the Carter Center, which was the home of his post-presidential humanitarian work. He'll then journey to the nation's capital next Monday, where he'll lie in state with thousands of people expected to file through the rotunda to pay their respects at the Capitol. Well, as the nation honors President Carter, many are reflecting on more personal interactions with the former president. That includes a family in a small Massachusetts town who actually hosted President Carter in their home for an overnight stay. As Scripps News' Chris Conte reports, it was all part of a tour the president took during his first year in office to try and better connect with the average American citizen.
This is Clinton, Massachusetts. It's not really famous for much, except for back in 1977 when President Jimmy Carter came here. It was a visit that to this day still stays with one family.
We're just going second floor, but I am going to have to climb a ladder to drag down some stuff.
If you want to know a thing or two about history, Terry Engano is your guy.
The place may look a little messy or a little dirty.
I met Terry inside the Clinton, Massachusetts Historical Society.
Watch Terry climb the ladder. Watch Terry fall from the ladder. It was quite the happening.
The items we were looking for have been sitting on a shelf for years. One by one, box by box, Terry dutifully handed me pieces of history.
So you've been saving this stuff for a while?
Oh, yes. Oh, most definitely.
And then it was time to open up the past.
Yeah, we have a little bit of everything here. It's amazing.
The year was 1977. It was the first year of Jimmy Carter's presidency.
Of course, the Carter T-shirt.
Carter was looking to get out of Washington. So advisors picked every town USA, or in this case, Clinton, Massachusetts.
Stood outside to see the craziness all over the place. The Boston Herald American.
And that is where Terry Engano, a man who preserves history, was witness to it.
He was shaking hands with everybody.
President Carter needed a place to stay during his trip, so he chose this house It belonged to the Thompson family, complete strangers to the president at the time. But with the entire family at home, President Carter spent the night. The next morning, running behind, he wrote the Thompson kids a note, reading, "To the teacher, please excuse Jane for being late to school. She had a guest in her house."
I mean, just the fact that he stayed at someone's house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, could you imagine a president doing that today?
No.
It just wouldn't happen.
Not at all. No, would not happen.
So what type of man was he? He wouldn't sleep in the master bedroom. He, specifically said, put me in a guest room. He did everything he could to not disrupt family life.
Dan Tenor recently moved into the Thompson house that holds plenty of history.
Say what you will about any particular president's success or shortcomings in office, you always respect the office. And the fact that the House once played host to a president is a big deal. Or at least it is to us.
The entire event was front page news in this small town for days.
This visit for President Carter was part of a tour that he did in an effort to connect with the average American citizen.
But one voice, particularly the voice of the American president, can set a standard for the world.
President Carter even held a town hall during his stay.
But I think over time, I think people started to realize that the character of the man was something that maybe we haven't seen since.
More than anything, each piece of Carter's visit to Clinton, Massachusetts carries with it a reminder of what were simpler times.
I mean, what an experience.
Oh, yeah. Can you
Imagine having
that?
the president stay in your home?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't happen today anyway, just because of security.
As a nation reflects back on the life of the 39th president, there's a piece of history one family and one town will always have.
Part of our history we'll never forget.
Chris Conti, Scripps News, Clinton, Massachusetts.
And President Carter also formed relationships with many Montanans during his time in office. He also has ties to Yellowstone National Park. President Carter made his first visit to the greater Yellowstone region as president in 1978 for a fishing trip on Yellowstone Lake. He then proceeded to return several times and literally left his mark on the park with an autograph on a wall. You can see it right here. This is in a building near Lake Lodge, home to a park employee pub that's not open to the public. Perhaps it's best known among employees as the best place for pizza. Well, President Carter agreed. The former president of the United States actually signing his name on the wall, along with the message, great pizza, beautiful park, fine rangers. We're going to tell you a lot more about that visit and President Carter's connections to the area coming up on the MTN News at 5:30. Well, many will be ringing in the New Year's just a little over 24 hours from now, and a lot of Montanans might be celebrating with some Montana-made beverages. In this week's Montana Ag Report, MTN's Tom Wiley shares the story of a barley farmer up in central Montana whose grains have taken on a new spirit, which you can now purchase and enjoy.
Well, the barley grown here in central Montana you can usually find in the beer that you drink, but a fourth-generation farmer from Power is moving in a new direction, and you can find the product right here in these barrels.
But this is the new hopper, all these parts.
Ryan Fifely is a Montana Renaissance man.
Get out my laser.
He graduated with a degree in engineering from Montana State and took a job out of college.
That took me all over the world and even ended up in Scotland for a year and a half.
While in Scotland, Fifely developed an interest in craft brewing and whiskey.
And of course, when you're in Scotland, you got to do what you do in Scotland. And we went to many distilleries and tried many whiskeys made by the Scots, which obviously they do a fantastic job. So I got a taste for single malt whiskey.
But agriculture is in his blood, and the call of the family farm and Power was too strong to ignore.
The farming bug got me, and the sitting at a desk bug didn't get me.
For generations, his family raised barley for industrial breweries, including Molson Coors, just a stone's throw away in Power. But Ryan had other ideas.
I got into home brewing, but I had a problem. I couldn't use my family's barley to make my home brew because there's a middle step called malting. So doing what I do, I guess, I built a little machine to make malt and had a lot of fun with that. But through that, I learned about craft malting.
Ryan started producing craft malt for local breweries under the name Farm Power Malt. He attended malting school in Canada and met a family from Argentina who ran a distillery. Through that relationship, Fifely came up with the idea to create single malt whiskey in central Montana, which led to building a distillery in Power called Farm Alizana.
Single malt whiskey is 100% malted barley, and well, what do we grow here in central Montana? We grow fantastic malt barley.
But it's not just a passion project for Fifely, it's practical. According to numbers from the Brewers Association, overall 2023 beer sales were down over 5% from the previous year, and the effects are felt by producers in Montana.
If fewer people drink beer or beer consumption goes down or bread consumption goes down for the wheat we grow or flour, that'll obviously filter back to the farmer eventually with lower prices.
So an added value operation like a whiskey distillery can help offset those losses.
One way we can combat that a little bit is doing what we're doing here and kind of cut out the middleman or make a high quality product.
Farm Alizana whiskey is still a few years away from release as it ages in barrels, but Fifely hopes it's just the start of what could be a growing industry in central Montana.
Someday I kind of hope there's a dozen in this area, and that would lead to tourism and people traveling here, like they travel to Kentucky for bourbon or they travel to Napa Valley for wine.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.